And a good Thursday morning to you here on Between the Ears, presented by Mountaineers Now, a SI Fan Nation channel. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about the young kids, the freshmen, the true freshmen, that is, what their roles look like, how much of an impact they can play on the team this fall at West Virginia, and who could maybe be a sleeper and maybe that star impact kind of guy that could just blow up right away as a true freshman. So we're just going to get right down the list here. We're going to go. There's 19 of these freshmen. We're going to go by position. So we'll start at running back. We've got DJ Oliver and Jaheim White. So the two very different backs here. Obviously, Jaheim White, the short, shifty, speedy, explosive type back that can really hit a home run at any time, at any point of the field. And he is somebody that the coaching staff has just been salivating over since he's got to campus. He has been electric with the ball in his hands. They flexed him out to receiver at times because he can make plays with the ball in space, and they want to get him the ball as many ways as they can because obviously when you have C.J. Donaldson in the backfield, you have Jalen Anderson, you have Justin Johnson, and you have so on and so forth. That's a lot of backs, a lot of mouths to feed in that running back group. So you've got to find ways to get Jaheim White on the field. They feel like he can play this year, and he will. Obviously, not going to be starting or anything like that because of C.J. Donaldson, because of all those other guys that I just mentioned in the running back room. But he will be a factor on this offense. How much? I think that's a little bit to be determined. I think we'll see a little bit sprinkled in this first couple of weeks, and depending on how he reacts to adverse situations and how he plays in the clutch and stuff like that, it'll just depend. I think he's going to be somebody that may force the coach's hand and say, "Hey, look, I'm ready to go right now. Just give me the ball." And that may be the case with him. With DJ Oliver, very big physical back. That it's funny because Chad Scott, the offensive coordinator, said that when he arrived to Morgantown, like there were some guys on the team who were unfamiliar with him, obviously, and didn't even know what position he played. They didn't think he played running back. They had no idea. When they see this 5'10", 240-pound bowling ball, they would have probably never guessed running back. And I'll be honest, when I watched his film, when I've seen the recruiting pictures and all this stuff, and it's not that he's out of shape. He is just a thick, big dude. Like there's a lot to this kid. Um, and when you look at him, he doesn't look like a running back. And I don't blame his teammates for thinking that. So, but when you watch the tape, it is a lot of physicalness, a lot of power, a lot of you know, downhill type runner in between the tackles. He doesn't really bounce it all that much, but he can. He's got that a little bit of ability to do that. So with DJ, I think ideally for him, they would probably like to get him his 4 games in redshirt. Okay, you've got again all those running backs in the backfield. There's so many touches to go around between just the top 3 and Anderson, Donaldson, and Johnson, and then you sprinkle in Jaheim White, who's been here since the spring. It's hard to get a 5th guy involved there. So I think they would maybe take a peek at what he can do there in that Duquesne game, and maybe give him a couple other appearances down the line in the later portions of the season. Slap a red shirt on him, moving forward. I think it makes the most sense. We're just gonna now, instead of going to receiver or anything like that, we're just going right here to the next position, and this is alphabetical order of the position, by the way. So if you're wondering why I'm all over the damn place, we've got athlete, and that is Jordan Jackson, which he is no longer an athlete. He is a cornerback, just like his brother, Josiah Jackson. Jordan is actually, I'll just hit both of them. Jordan and Josiah Jackson. Josiah probably, in my opinion at least, was I thought, the more ready kid of the two coming out of high school. I thought he had the more refined skills. He just looked like he was more able to come in and make an impact right away. But everything we're hearing is stuff about Jordan Jackson and how surprising he has been to the staff, and that he's probably not going to factor in a corner this year just because of the depth they've established there through the guys that are coming back, the guys that they landed in the portal. But he's going to make an impact on special teams. So there you have it with the Jackson brothers. Josiah probably redshirt as well. Defensive line, Corey McIntyre. Um, we haven't heard a whole lot about him. I think we will. Again, he may be somebody that gets in there. But with some of these defensive linemen, everyone says, why would you not just throw them in there for the 4 games if they're going to get redshirted? It's kind of like the quarterback position with everybody. Okay, you don't want to throw them out there before they're ready. And there may not be 4 games or where there is opportunities to put him out there and you feel okay with it. So I I don't know. The D line has got a lot of experience. It's got a lot of depth. I don't see Corey McIntyre factoring in this year. Definitely will be somebody to watch out for moving forward. Um, or Orion Fisher off the edge, kind of the same deal. He's not someone who's been here. He's got a lot of growing to do. He's not probably where they want him to be weight wise. He's a little on the thin side, but give him a year in Mike Joseph's system. I loved Orion Fisher coming out of high school, and I think he's got a natural ability to him to be able to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. So he's going to be someone that's going to pop. He's got the length, very long edge rushers. So I'm interested to see kind of where he ends up. Is it going to be at a bandit? Is it going to be where they grow him into a defensive lineman? Probably not because of how thin he is, but I'm going to say more likely a bandit. Um, Maybe he ends up being spirit. I mean, this thing could go a lot of ways with him. Zachariah Keith and Edge, I think he could play. Um, but again, there's a lot of these kids that they're looking at Bandit, and I think they believe that Tyron Bradley and James Hurd, who we're going to get to here next. Actually, we'll just go ahead and hit him now. James Hurd, he will play, 100% will play. He's going to factor in. You got Jared Bartlett, Tyron Bradley, the Abilene Christian transfer, and then you have James Hurd Jr., who has already established himself as the most natural pass rusher on this team. So if that tells you anything, this kid's going to be a stud, flat out. And he was probably my second rated recruit in this entire class, behind only Rodney Gallagher, the receiver who we'll get to here in a second. But I think James Hurd could not only be a rotational player at Bandit, but he could maybe push Tyron Bradley for that number 2 spot on that depth chart as we move along. And if Bradley doesn't make that smooth transition from FCS to FBS, James Hurd's going to be right on his tail. He's going to be an all-conference player here, someone that this defense can build around for years to come. Ben Cutter from down my way in Denver, North Carolina, near Lake Norman. Played at East Lincoln High School. This kid is a baller, man. I caught one of his games last year, and it's just the kid's all over the place. Wherever the ball's at is where Cutter's at. He's just one of those guys that has a head for the ball, and he's going to be somebody that probably factors in somewhat on defense in the back end of the season, and maybe even sooner because of how kind of thin their numbers are in that second unit or that second level of the defense. But special teams wise, Ben Cutter will be there probably from day one against Penn State. He is going to make plays. Josiah Trotter, unfortunately, as most of you probably already know, the son of NFL linebacker Jeremiah Trotter, or former NFL linebacker Jeremiah Trotter, out of St. Joseph's Prep in Philadelphia. He's got an injury that'll likely keep him out the entire season, which really stings, man. Because like this kid, actually, I take that back. James Hurd was my number 3 guy. Gallagher was my number 2. I keep forgetting that Trotter was in this mix because of the injuries. Josiah Trotter was my number 1 recruit in this class. He would have probably started as a true freshman. The staff loved him. They loved his potential. They thought he would have been ready to go from day one. I mean, this is a 6'2", 230-pound linebacker with speed, athleticism, high IQ, just essentially 2 years ahead of where most players would be coming out of high school. It was like a junior. And it's unfortunate, but he is making progress. He is learning. He's studying. And I guess they're just going to use this year to really allow him to soak in everything, soak in the teaching points, and that way next year he's ready to go. But definitely a big blow to the defense because he was going to be a factor. Going to the offensive line, you have 3 guys here: Nick Cray, Cooper Young, Johnny Williams. Nick Cray and Cooper Young are probably guys that are not going to see the field this year. They are high on them. Matt Moore has talked about them a couple of times. Believes in those 2 guys for sure, that they're going to develop and be really good players here. Nick Cray, especially, is a cool story. He came out of high school 245 pounds, or was 245 pounds at one point. Now he's pushing 300. Mike Joseph already doing his work with him. So he's making significant progress in his development of his strength, and they feel like he's going to be a factor in the O-line in years to come. And then Johnny Williams, that's the guy that he's going to have a chance to play. He's not going to start, obviously. You have Doug Nestor at right tackle, and that's been kind of where they've been lining him up. He can kick inside the guard a little bit, but Johnny Williams is an offensive tackle, and I wouldn't even be surprised if he could play left tackle at this level. But again, you have Wyatt Milam over there, so it's not like there's a clear path for Johnny Williams to play as a true freshman, but there's going to be spots where they need some depth. They need somebody to rotate in. They may need to give somebody a play or 2 off to catch a breather, or maybe even a series. There may be an injury that pops up. We don't know. But Johnny Williams is a guy that if they needed to throw him into the game, that there's not going to be this massive drop off because some true freshman is in the game. Again, some of these kids, they come out of high school and they're just not ready. It takes them a little bit of time. Johnny Williams is somebody like Trotter, a little bit ahead of where most freshmen are, especially from an offensive line standpoint. That is the biggest transition, I would say, out of any position from high school to college, is playing along that offensive line. It's just a different game. It is such a big difference. So I would say Johnny Williams is going to factor in. You can probably hear my dog in the background, but he will play a little bit. He's probably going to be he might be one of those guys, if they can just keep him to 4 games and redshirt him, they'd like that. But from what Neil was talking about the other day, it doesn't sound like that's going to be the plan. He's probably going to play more than 4. Then you got quarterback Sean Boyle. Probably feels a little bit left out in this whole situation when you got Garrett Green, Nico Martial going after it for the starting quarterback job. But I'm hearing good things from him. They know he is coming from a different style of offense, which he played down here at Charlotte Catholic. But they didn't really throw the ball a ton, but they also didn't expect him to be the athlete that he is. So he's kind of turned some heads a little bit. He's making some progress, and they don't really know where he's going to settle in, down the line. Could he be a starter? Maybe. But they like the progress that they are seeing out of Sean Boyle. Running back, Jaheim White, we already talked about him. I don't know why that's popping up again here on my phone. But Noah Bram, tight end. Outside of offensive line and maybe outside of quarterback, tight end is actually, I would just lump tight ends together with the offensive line in terms of the most difficult challenge or transition challenge challenging transition from high school to college because people don't understand as a tight end, you have to do everything. Actually may be one of the most underrated positions in all of football because you have to block, you have to catch, you have to learn how to block on the perimeter and in the run game. There's a lot of responsibility there. You have to be able to find ways to get open. You have to be able to hold on to the ball. It's a challenging thing, and again, that's why you see in the NFL all these tight ends are complaining about that they're not getting paid, and that all these receivers are making all this money and they're not getting anything. I mean, I completely understand it. They're doing more than receivers in some instances. So, but Noah Bram, way off the path there. But Noah Bram's not probably going to factor in this year. They really like Cole Taylor and Traylon Davis, and they can maybe factor in a third tight end. But for a true freshman to come in, that's a tough ask. Maybe gets a game or two in, but as a true freshman, don't expect much. TJ Johnson, kind of the same thing there. He's kind of a hybrid. I don't really know what they're going to do with him. They keep saying tight end, but he's got wide receiver skill set. Maybe he's that new age tight end that's a receiver, kind of like how I'm not, obviously not comparing him to him, but a Travis Kelce is clearly a tight end, but they use him more as a receiver. That might kind of be where they use him down the line. And then we'll finish up here with the receivers, Rodney Gallagher, again, my number 2 rated recruit in this class, and Traylon Ray. Traylon Ray is somebody that Neil Brown is very excited about. Called him smooth the other day. He led the team in receiving in the scrimmage last Saturday. So there is something there with Traylon Ray. He was a highly rated recruit. A lot of Power 5 schools coming after him. I'm interested to see what he does and how he kind of fits in. I don't know where at what position he's going to be really at, but man, that kid's got an interesting skill set, and I think he's got a very bright future. And then Rodney Gallagher, like I said, number 2 guy on my board in this class, and just knows how to get open, knows how to make plays in space, make people miss. Just a very solid kid that has got all Big 12 potential and could be one of the top receivers as a freshman on this team. So that's your whole spiel here with the 2023 recruiting class. A little quick rundown on each of the players, kind of their roles, their impact. As far as the sleeper, since I did promise I would give you a sleeper pick. Oh man, that's a tough one because I could go so many ways with this. Actually, I missed one. Aiden Nelson, safety. He was their late ad. They signed him late. Probably going to be a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a project, but someone that's going to factor in more so down the line. Go back to my sleeper. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Ben Cutter. It's not a bold prediction because the staff has talked so much about him. But again, when you go and rank these kids from 1 to 19, and I'm not going to unveil my rankings completely. I mean, I'll give you my top 3, but I'm not going to show the rest of that. But I would say Cutter, when you look at talent wise, he's probably not somebody that you would think would come in and right away and be an impact guy just in terms of the talent. Because there's obviously several more guys ahead of him that have maybe more talent or more skill set, better intangibles. But Cutter just finds a way to make plays. And he's going to make an impact on special teams. That's going to end up leading him to getting opportunities on defense, whether that's at Will, whether that's at Sam, I don't know. But I'm going to go Ben Cutter as my sleeper pick. So that's the entire deal there with the 2023 freshman. The roles, my sleeper pick, my top pick, and everything. So that's going to do it for today's episode on Between the Ears. I'm Schuyler Callihan. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Give our page a like as well at Mountaineers Now. You can follow us on Twitter at Mountaineers Now. And we'll be back tomorrow with another episode.